The stars looked different this far from home. Commander Daniel Cross stood on the bridge of the Wanderer, watching the view screen display the Kepler 442 system. They had been traveling for 3 months to reach this place, following energy readings that made no sense. The readings suggested technology, but the system was supposed to be dead. No planets with life. No civilizations. Just empty space and cold rocks. Daniel was 42 years old and had spent half his life in space. He had seen strange things before, but something about this mission felt different. The colonial administration had been unusually interested in these readings. They had approved his expedition request within hours, which never happened. Behind him, Dr. Lisa Morgan was studying her displays. Lisa was the best xenoarchaeologist in the colonial fleet. She had decoded artifacts from 6 different extinct alien races. If anyone could figure out what they were about to find, it was her. She pushed her red hair behind her ear and frowned at her screen. "The energy signature is getting stronger," she said. "Whatever's out there, it's old. Really old. I'm reading technology that shouldn't exist anymore." Jake Sullivan, their pilot, adjusted their course. Jake was young, only 28, but he could fly anything. He had gotten them through an asteroid field last year that would have destroyed most ships. "Coming up on the coordinates now," he said. "You're going to want to see this." The view screen changed. There, floating in the darkness, was a structure unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon. The surface was covered in panels that still gleamed, despite what must have been millions of years in space. Lights blinked along its surface in patterns that seemed almost alive. Claire Bennett, their security officer, whistled low. "That's not natural. That's a station of some kind." "A way station," Lisa said, her voice filled with excitement. "I've read about these in ancient texts. Different civilizations use them as meeting points, libraries, and trading posts, but I've never seen one this old." Daniel made his decision. "Jake, take us in slowly." "Claire, keep weapons ready but not armed. We don't know if this thing has defenses." "Lisa, start scanning everything you can." The Wanderer approached the way station carefully. As they got closer, the scale of it became even more impressive. The structure had docking ports designed for ships of all different sizes and shapes. Some ports were tiny, maybe for ships the size of cars. Others could have held vessels 10 times larger than the Wanderer. Jake found a port that fit their ship and docked smoothly. The station's systems activated automatically, creating an airtight seal. The lights inside the docking tunnel turned on, revealing walls covered in symbols from languages Daniel didn't recognize. "Atmosphere is good," Claire said, checking her instruments. 21% oxygen, standard pressure. Someone designed this place for a lot of different species. They suited up anyway, taking no chances. Daniel led the way with Claire right behind him, holding a scanner and weapon. Lisa followed, her eyes wide as she recorded everything. Jake stayed with the ship, monitoring their signals. The interior of the way station was enormous. Corridors stretched in every direction, some built for creatures that walked upright like humans, others for beings that must have crawled or slithered. The walls still displayed information in hundreds of languages, scrolling past in an endless stream. Lisa stopped at one wall, touching the symbols gently. "This is incredible. I'm seeing languages from species that died out millions of years ago. This way station has been here functioning long after its builders vanished." They followed the main corridor to what appeared to be a central chamber. The room was vast, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness above. In the center stood thousands of crystalline structures, each one glowing softly with internal light. "Data cores," Lisa said, approaching them carefully. "Each one contains information from a different civilization. This is an archive, a library of extinct species." Daniel watched as Lisa connected her portable computer to one of the cores. The crystal pulsed and data began flowing into her system. Lisa's face went pale as she read the information. "Daniel, you need to see this." He moved to her side, looking at the screen. The data had been translated automatically, the way station systems recognizing human language patterns and adapting. What he read made his blood run cold. It was a warning. A message left by a civilization called the Praetorians, who had vanished 800,000 years ago. The message was simple and direct. Avoid the 3rd planet in the Sol system. The sleeping giants must not be disturbed. Never wake them. "That's Earth," Lisa whispered. "They're warning about Earth." Daniel felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Check the other cores. See if there are more messages." Lisa worked quickly, connecting to core after core. Each one told the same story. Different civilizations separated by millions of years, all leaving warnings about Earth. Some messages were detailed, describing detection of massive structures beneath Earth's surface. Others were brief, just coordinates in a single word in various languages that all translated to the same thing: danger. "This doesn't make sense," Claire said. "Earth is our home. We've lived there for thousands of years. There's nothing dangerous about it." "These messages are old," Lisa said, scrolling through dates. "The newest one is from 40,000 years ago. The oldest is from over 3 million years ago. They all say the same thing: stay away from Earth, don't wake what sleeps there." Daniel was about to respond when Jake's voice came through their communicators. "Commander, we have a problem. I'm picking up another ship entering the system. It's not human." They hurried back to the Wanderer, reaching the bridge in minutes. The view screen showed a vessel approaching the way station. Its design was elegant, all flowing curves and silver metal. Daniel had seen ships like this before in briefing documents. "That's a Viridian ship," he said. "They're one of the oldest spacefaring races still active. They've been in space for 50,000 years. "They're hailing us," Jake said. Daniel nodded. "Put them through." The view screen changed, showing a figure that was humanoid but clearly not human. The Viridian had pale blue skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, the translation software converted its words into English. "Human vessel, you should not be here. This way station was sealed for a reason. You have found the warnings, yes?" "We have," Daniel said. "What do you know about Earth?" "About what's sleeping there." The Viridian's expression was hard to read, but something in its body language suggested fear. "Everything. We have been watching your world for 12,000 years. We hoped you would never find these archives. Now that you have, we must talk. What you do next could determine the fate of every living thing in the galaxy." The Viridian ship docked at the way station 2 hours later. Daniel waited in the central chamber with his team, watching as 3 Viridians entered. They moved with a grace that made them seem like they were floating rather than walking. The lead Viridian was taller than the others, with markings on its skin that glowed faintly in the dim light. "I am called Elder Keeper in your language," the Viridian said. Its voice was soft but carried authority. "I speak for the Viridian Collective in matters concerning Earth. We had hoped this day would never come." Lisa stepped forward. "You said you've been watching Earth for 12,000 years. Why, what do you know?" The Elder Keeper moved to one of the data cores, touching it with long fingers. "May I show you? Words alone cannot convey what we discovered." Daniel nodded. "Show us." The Elder Keeper activated the core and a holographic display filled the chamber. It showed a planet, green and blue and beautiful. But this was not modern Earth. The continents were in different positions. Ice covered much of the northern regions. 30,000 years ago, my people were exploring this region of space, the Elder Keeper began. "We found ruins on a dead world, 15 light-years from here. The ruins contained star charts, and those charts pointed to one world above all others. Earth." The hologram changed, showing a Viridian ship approaching Earth. "We came to observe. Your species was primitive then, still living in small groups, hunting and gathering. We saw nothing unusual at first, just another world with early intelligent life. But our scientists were curious," the Elder Keeper continued. "They performed deep scans of the planet, looking for mineral resources and studying the geology. That is when we found them." The hologram zoomed beneath Earth's surface, diving through layers of rock and soil. Deep underground, the display showed massive structures. They were geometric and perfect, made of materials that gleamed even in the hologram. They stretched for thousands of miles, interconnected in a vast network that covered the entire planet. Claire leaned forward. "What are those?" "We do not know," the Elder Keeper said. "We only know what our scans revealed. The structures are old, older than complex life on your world. They were built at least 600 million years ago, possibly older. The materials they are made from do not exist naturally. They were created by technology far beyond even our understanding." Lisa was recording everything, her hands shaking slightly. "That's impossible. 600 million years ago, Earth barely had multicellular life. There was no intelligent species, nothing that could build something like that." "Exactly," the Elder Keeper said. "Yet the structures exist. Our scientists studied them for 3 years from orbit. They detected energy readings, faint but present. The structures were not dead. They were dormant, like something sleeping." Daniel felt his heart beating faster. "Did you try to make contact? To wake them up?" The Elder Keeper's eyes seemed to darken. No, because we detected something else. Whenever we focused our scans on the structures, whenever we sent probe signals trying to analyze them, they responded, not actively, but like a sleeping creature stirring when touched. The energy readings would spike. Seismic activity would increase in the regions above the structures. It was as if the planet itself was beginning to wake. The hologram showed graphs and data streams all spiking upward. We ceased all scanning immediately. Our scientists were terrified. They calculated that if the structures fully activated, they would draw enough energy to power a civilization that spanned 100 star systems. The purpose of such power we could not guess. We left Earth and never returned, the Elder Keeper said. We added our own warning to this way station, as others had done before us. We made it our mission to ensure that no one disturbed your world. We established monitoring posts at the edge of your solar system, watching from a distance. Jake spoke up from where he had been standing quietly. But humans evolved. We built cities. We created technology. Wouldn't that have activated these structures? We thought it might, the Elder Keeper admitted. We watched your species grow, waiting for the structures to respond. But they did not. Your industrial revolution, your first nuclear reactions, your space flights all caused minor fluctuations in the structures, but nothing significant. We theorized that perhaps the structures were waiting for something specific. Lisa was pacing now, her mind racing. What changed? Why are you worried now? The Elder Keeper gestured, and the hologram changed to show modern Earth. Red markers appeared across the planet, highlighting various locations. 200 years ago, your energy output began increasing dramatically. Nuclear reactors, fusion plants, quantum cores. The structures began responding more strongly. In the past 50 years, the response has accelerated. The hologram zoomed in on one of the red markers in the Pacific Ocean. 3 months ago, this structure sent out a pulse. It was brief, lasting only seconds, but it was detected by our monitoring systems. It was the first active signal we had ever recorded from the structures. That is when we knew time was running out. Daniel felt cold despite the comfortable temperature of the station. Running out for what? For preventing an awakening, the Elder Keeper said. The structures are responding to human activity. As your civilization grows, as your technology advances, you are approaching some threshold. When you cross it, the structures will fully activate, and we do not know what will happen then. Claire had her arms crossed, her expression skeptical. This could all be wrong. Maybe these structures are ancient power generators. Maybe they were meant to help life on Earth. Why assume they are dangerous? Because of the warnings, the Elder Keeper said simply. He gestured to the data cores around them. Hundreds of civilizations, spanning millions of years, all leaving the same message. Never wake them. Civilizations more advanced than yours or mine. Species that lived and died long before either of our peoples existed. All afraid of what sleeps beneath Earth. Lisa stopped pacing. We need to know more. We need to study these structures directly. That is dangerous, the Elder Keeper said. Direct study could accelerate the awakening. We're already running out of time according to you, Daniel said. If these structures are going to wake up anyway, we need to know what they are before that happens. We need to be prepared. The Elder Keeper was silent for a long moment. Finally it spoke. I must consult with the collective. But I fear you are correct. Ignorance will not save you now. If you are going to face what lies beneath your world, you should at least understand what it is. How long will your consultation take? Daniel asked. 3 days. I will return to my ship and contact our home world. In the meantime, I suggest you report this to your colonial administration. They will need to make decisions about how to proceed. Daniel nodded. We'll wait for your response. The Viridians left the station, their ship disappearing into faster-than-light travel within minutes. Daniel turned to his team. Lisa, compile everything we found here. Every warning, every piece of data. Jake, plot a course back to the nearest colonial outpost. Claire, start drafting a security report. What are you going to do? Lisa asked. Daniel looked at the view screen, showing the distant stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, home to 18 billion humans who had no idea what lay beneath their feet. I'm going to make a call that will change everything, he said, because if the Elder Keeper is right, humanity is about to face something we never imagined, and we need to be ready. 6 weeks had passed since Daniel's meeting with the Elder Keeper. Those weeks had been filled with arguments, debates, and difficult decisions. The colonial administration had been skeptical at first. Ancient warnings and sleeping structures sounded like science fiction. But the data from the way station was undeniable, and the Viridian's offer to help investigate had convinced even the doubters. Now Daniel stood on a research platform anchored 7 miles above the deepest part of the Mariana Trench. The platform was massive, housing equipment and personnel from both human and Viridian science teams. Below them, the ocean stretched down into darkness. And below that, buried beneath miles of rock, was one of the largest structures the scans had detected. Lisa joined him at the railing, looking down at the water. The drilling team says they'll reach the structure in 2 days. Are you sure about this? No, Daniel admitted. But we need to know. The Elder Keeper was right. We can't just ignore this and hope it goes away. A new member had joined their team. Dr. Peter Grant was a geologist who specialized in deep earth studies. He was 55 years old with gray hair and a weathered face from years of fieldwork. He approached them carrying a data pad. I've been analyzing the scan data, Peter said. This structure is incredible. It's made from a metal alloy that doesn't match anything in our databases or the Viridians. The density readings suggest it's incredibly strong, but also somehow flexible. And the depth is perfect. Perfect how? Daniel asked. It's positioned at exactly the right depth to tap into the Earth's mantle for energy, Peter explained. If this structure is part of a global network like we think, it could draw power directly from the planet's core. The amount of energy available would be astronomical. 3 Viridian scientists were also on the platform. They kept to themselves mostly, but Daniel had noticed they seemed nervous. The Elder Keeper had warned them that this investigation was dangerous, but he had agreed it was necessary. Now Daniel wondered if they were all making a terrible mistake. The drilling operation continued around the clock. The drill itself was a marvel of technology, using a combination of lasers and plasma to cut through solid rock. It had taken 3 weeks just to drill the first 5 miles. The last 2 miles had been slower as they approached the structure. On the 43rd day, the drill broke through into a cavity. The equipment had detected empty space below the rock layer. The team gathered around the monitors as cameras were lowered down the drill shaft. The cavity was enormous, easily the size of a cathedral. And there, gleaming in the camera lights, was the structure. It was smooth and metallic, covered in patterns that seemed to shift when you looked at them. The metal had no corrosion, no damage, despite being buried for hundreds of millions of years. Lisa gasped. It's beautiful. Peter was scanning the readings. The metal is at exactly the same temperature as the surrounding rock. No heat signature at all. It's like it's perfectly balanced with the environment. One of the Viridian scientists approached. Her name was something Daniel couldn't pronounce, so she had told them to call her Keeper too. We should proceed carefully. Touching the structure could trigger a response. We need samples, Peter said. We need to understand what it's made of. They spent the next 3 days preparing. A team of specialists in environmental suits descended the shaft in a small elevator. Daniel insisted on going with them, along with Lisa and Peter. Claire remained on the surface, monitoring communications. The descent took 2 hours. When they finally reached the bottom, Daniel stepped out onto a platform that had been assembled at the edge of the cavity. The structure loomed before them, a wall of alien metal that disappeared into darkness in both directions. According to the scans, this structure extends for at least 300 miles in every direction, Peter said, and it connects to similar structures all over the planet. Lisa approached the wall carefully. She had brought equipment designed to scan and analyze without making physical contact. As her scanners played over the surface, data began appearing on her screens. I'm detecting inscriptions, she said excitedly. They're extremely faint, but they're there. Some kind of writing covering the entire surface. So can you read it? Daniel asked. Give me time, Lisa said. This is unlike any language I've seen before. It doesn't match any known alien writing system, but there are patterns, mathematical sequences. If I can decode those, I might be able to understand the rest. While Lisa worked, Peter took samples from the rock surrounding the structure. He was careful not to touch the metal itself. The Viridians monitored everything from their own equipment, recording data but saying little. Hours passed. The team rotated, some going back up to rest while others came down. Lisa remained, refusing to leave. She was obsessed with the inscriptions, spending every moment studying them. On the 2nd day in the cavity, Lisa made a breakthrough. Daniel was resting in his quarters when she called him, her voice shaking with excitement. I've got it. I can read it. He hurried to the analysis room where Lisa had her equipment spread across multiple tables. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, and she was drinking her 5th cup of coffee. "The inscriptions are incredibly complex," she said, "but the foundation is mathematical. Once I understood the number system, the rest started falling into place." "Daniel, you need to hear this." She pulled up a translation on her screen. The words appeared in English, converted from whatever language the original builders had used. "We sleep so you may live." Daniel read it again. "That's what it says? Just that?" "That phrase repeats thousands of times across the entire surface we've scanned," Lisa said. "It's like a mantra or a promise. But there's more. I found longer passages in some areas. Let me show you." She pulled up another section. This one was longer, a full paragraph of text. Daniel read it carefully. The passage spoke of a great civilization that had risen to incredible heights. They had mastered their world, their solar system, and beyond. They had achieved what the text called unity of consciousness, merging their individual minds into a collective intelligence. But their advancement had come at a cost. Their technology was consuming their world, draining it of life. They faced a choice. They could leave, spreading to other worlds and leaving their home to die. Or they could save it. The passage described their decision to enter a state of deep hibernation, merging themselves with a planetary network that would heal and preserve Earth over millions of years. "They're not structures," Lisa said quietly. "They're people. Or they were. They gave up everything to save their world." Peter had joined them, reading over Daniel's shoulder. "But if they're in hibernation, what happens if they wake up?" "The inscriptions mention that too," Lisa said. She pulled up another section. "They programmed themselves to remain dormant until the planet had fully healed. Until life flourished again. If they wake before that time, they'll believe something has gone wrong. They'll take action to protect the planet." "What kind of action?" Daniel asked, though he feared he knew the answer. "The text isn't specific, but it mentions reclamation and restoration. I think they would reshape the planet back to their original design. They wouldn't know that new life has evolved. They wouldn't know about us." Daniel felt a chill run through him. "We have to stop the drilling. Right now." But even as he gave the order, alarms began blaring throughout the platform. Peter's equipment was showing massive energy spikes from the structure. The metal was warming up, going from ambient temperature to noticeably hot in seconds. Claire's voice came through the communicators. "Commander, we're detecting seismic activity. Earthquakes registering all along the Pacific Rim, and the structure is sending out pulses. We're picking them up on instruments worldwide." Daniel grabbed his communicator. "Evacuate the shaft. Everyone up now." As they scrambled for the elevator, Daniel looked back at the structure. The patterns on its surface were glowing now, pulsing with light that seemed to breathe. After 600 million years of sleep, something was waking up. And humanity had just run out of time. The pulses came every 6 hours now, regular as a heartbeat. Each pulse could be detected by instruments across the entire planet. People couldn't feel them, but animals could. Birds were flying in strange patterns. Whales were beaching themselves. Dogs and cats were acting afraid, hiding in corners and refusing to come out. Daniel stood in the command center that had been set up on the research platform. The room was filled with monitors showing data from around the world. Every screen told the same story. The structures were waking up, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. "Energy draw is increasing exponentially," Peter said, studying his displays. "The structures are pulling power from Earth's core at rates that should be impossible. If this continues, we'll start seeing effects on the magnetic field within days." Lisa was at her station, still translating the inscriptions. She had barely slept in the 3 weeks since the awakening began. Her discoveries had been shared with scientists worldwide, and everyone was desperately searching for answers. "I found more text," she said. "It describes their technology in detail. The structures aren't just for hibernation. They're a planetary management system. They can control tectonic activity, regulate the atmosphere, even influence the development of life itself." Claire was coordinating with military forces around the world. The colonial administration had declared a state of emergency. They were preparing evacuation plans, but everyone knew the truth. There was nowhere to run. Earth was the only home humanity had that could support 18 billion people. The Elder Keeper had arrived 3 days ago with a fleet of Viridian ships. They were offering to evacuate anyone they could, but their ships could only carry a few million people at most. It was a generous offer, but it was nowhere near enough. Daniel had barely left the command center. He survived on coffee and quick naps at his station. Every decision could mean the difference between survival and extinction. The weight of it was crushing. "Commander, we're getting reports from around the world," Claire said. "People are experiencing unusual dreams. Vivid images of underground cities, of vast machine networks. The reports are all very similar. The structures are broadcasting," Lisa said. "It makes sense. If they're a collective consciousness, they would communicate through some kind of neural network. Humans must be picking up fragments of their thoughts." Jake had been coordinating with orbital stations. The International Space Authority is reporting unusual readings from the moon. They're detecting energy signatures similar to what we're seeing on Earth. Everyone in the command center turned to stare at him. "The structures are on the moon too?" Peter asked. "Apparently," Jake said. "Smaller networks, but definitely there. They're also on Mars, though those seem completely inactive." Daniel felt his mind racing. They didn't just manage Earth, they had a whole solar system under their control. Whatever civilization built these structures, they were more advanced than we imagined. The Elder Keeper entered the command center. The Viridian had been working closely with the human scientists, sharing everything his people knew. "I have news from the collective. We have analyzed the patterns in the pulses. They are not random. They are a countdown." "How long?" Daniel asked. 7 days, the Elder Keeper said. "In 7 days, the structures will be fully active. What happens then, we cannot predict, but our calculations suggest the energy release will be visible from space." Lisa stood up suddenly. "I need to go back down to the structure. I've been studying the inscriptions, but I need to see them again. There has to be something we're missing, some way to communicate with them." "It's too dangerous," Claire said. "The energy levels down there are increasing. The heat alone could kill you." "She's right about one thing," Peter said. "We need more information. The inscriptions might contain instructions for how to interface with the system." Daniel made his decision. "We go back down. Small team. Lisa, Peter, myself, and the Elder Keeper if he's willing." "I will accompany you," the Elder Keeper said. They descended the shaft the next morning. The cavity had changed dramatically. The structure was glowing now, bright enough that they didn't need artificial lights. The patterns on its surface were moving, flowing like water. The air was hot, despite the cooling systems they had installed. Lisa approached the wall with her scanning equipment. "The inscriptions are changing. New text is appearing. It's like the structure is updating itself." She worked quickly, recording everything. Peter was taking measurements of the energy output. The Elder Keeper stood nearby, observing everything with his large black eyes. "I've got something," Lisa said after an hour. "There's a section here that describes an interface protocol, a way for external beings to communicate with the network. But it's complex. It would require connecting directly to the structure." "That sounds extremely dangerous," Daniel said. "It is," Peter agreed. "The energy flowing through that metal could fry a human brain instantly." "Not if we use Viridian translation technology," the Elder Keeper said. "Our neural interfaces are designed to protect the user, while allowing communication with alien systems. We developed them specifically for encounters with unknown technology." Lisa looked at Daniel. "It might be our only chance. If I can connect to the structure, I can try to explain what's happened. Tell them that Earth has healed, that new life has evolved. Maybe they'll listen. Or maybe they'll kill you instantly," Claire said through the communicator from above. "That's a risk I'm willing to take," Lisa said. Daniel wanted to argue, to find another way, but they were running out of time. In 6 days, the structures would be fully active. If they were going to do something, it had to be now. "Do it," he said. The Elder Keeper brought the interface device from their ship. It looked like a crown made of silver metal, covered in small crystals that pulsed with light. He explained how it worked, how it would create a bridge between Lisa's consciousness and the structure's network. "The experience will be overwhelming," he warned. "You will be connecting to millions of minds at once. It may be more than you can endure." "I understand," Lisa said. She put on the interface device. The Elder Keeper activated it, and the crystals began glowing brighter. Lisa approached the structure, placing her hand on its surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Lisa's entire body went rigid. Her eyes rolled back in her head. The interface device was glowing so brightly it was painful to look at. "Lisa!" Daniel started forward, but the Elder Keeper held him back. "She is connecting. Do not interrupt, or you could sever the link and damage her mind." Daniel could only watch as Lisa stood frozen against the structure. Minutes passed. The glow from the interface device spread to Lisa herself. Her skin was shining with the same light as the metal. Then she began to speak, but it wasn't her voice. It was thousands of voices speaking in unison, male and female, young and old, all blending together. "Has the world healed?" the voices asked. "Is it time to wake?" Lisa's body trembled. Somehow, through all those other voices, Daniel could hear her fighting to respond. Her lips moved, forming words. "The world has healed," she said, her voice barely audible. "But you must see what it has become." The structure pulsed, and Daniel felt something impossible. For just a moment, he could sense the vast intelligence behind those voices. It was ancient and powerful and completely alien to anything human. Yet there was something familiar in it, too, something that recognized them as kin. "Show us," the voices said. Lisa's eyes opened, glowing with the same light as the structure. Through the interface, she began sharing images. Earth as it was today, forests and oceans, cities full of people, children playing, scientists discovering, humanity reaching for the stars. The structure fell silent. The voices stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the pulses stopped completely. The glow faded from the structure. Lisa collapsed, and Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. The interface device fell away, its light extinguished. "Lisa, can you hear me?" Daniel asked, her eyes opened slowly. They were her own eyes again, brown and human. "They're debating," she whispered. "Some want to wake fully. Some want to sleep again. They're arguing about what to do about us." "What do they think of humanity?" Peter asked. Lisa smiled weakly. "They're surprised, impressed, and scared. Because we're like them. We're following the same path they did, and they don't know if that's wonderful or terrifying." 3 days passed in silence. The structures went completely dark. No pulses, no energy readings, no signs of activity at all. It was as if they had never been awake. Scientists around the world monitored every instrument they had, waiting for something, anything to happen. Lisa had been recovering in the medical bay. The connection with the structure had taken everything out of her. She slept for 36 hours straight, and when she woke, she could barely remember what had happened. The memories were there, but they felt distant, like a dream she couldn't quite grasp. Daniel sat with her as she recovered. "What do you remember about them?" Lisa stared at the ceiling, her eyes unfocused. They were human, or they had been once, millions of them, all merged together into one vast consciousness. They gave up their individual selves to save Earth. Can you imagine that? Giving up everything you are to become part of something bigger? Do you think they'll go back to sleep? Daniel asked. "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "They were arguing when I disconnected. Some of them thought we were proof their sacrifice worked. Earth had healed so completely that new intelligent life evolved. Others thought we were a threat, that we would make the same mistakes they did." "What mistakes?" "Consuming the planet," Lisa said quietly. "They advanced too quickly. Their technology grew faster than their wisdom. By the time they realized what they were doing, Earth was dying. They had a choice. Abandon their world or save it. They chose to save it, but the price was their own existence as individuals." Claire entered the medical bay carrying reports. "The Colonial Administration wants answers. They're asking when it's safe to start recovery operations." "Recovery from what?" Daniel asked. "Nothing happened." "That's what has them worried," Claire said. "The structures were active for weeks, drawing massive amounts of energy, and then they just stopped. No explanation. No communication. People are scared." Jake had news too. "The Viridian fleet is preparing to leave. The Elder Keeper wants to speak with you before they go." Daniel found the Elder Keeper on the observation deck, looking out at the ocean. The Viridian turned as Daniel approached. "Your Dr. Morgan did something extraordinary," the Elder Keeper said. "In all our time watching Earth, we never considered trying to communicate with the structures. We were too afraid. Are you still afraid?" Daniel asked. "More than ever," the Elder Keeper admitted, "because now we know what they are. They are not monsters or machines. They are beings who made an impossible choice, and that makes them unpredictable." Before Daniel could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the platform. Peter's voice came through the speakers. "Commander, you need to get to the command center now." They ran. The command center was chaos when they arrived. Every screen was showing activity. The structures were coming back online, but differently this time. The energy readings were stable, controlled, and data was flowing out of them, streaming into every connected computer system on Earth. "What is this?" Daniel demanded. "It's information," Peter said, his voice filled with awe. "Star charts, technical specifications, scientific data. They're giving us knowledge." Lisa had arrived too, still weak but determined. She sat at her station and began analyzing the data. "It's filtered. They're not giving us everything, just information that matches our current level of technology. Nothing too advanced, nothing we couldn't figure out eventually on our own. They're helping us, but not too much." "Why?" Claire asked. The answer came not from any of them, but from the structures themselves. Text appeared on every screen, in every language known to humanity. "We have decided to continue our sleep. Your species shows promise. You reach for the stars not just to conquer, but to learn. You make mistakes, but you also show compassion. You are young, but you may yet grow into wisdom. We leave you gifts, knowledge to help you advance without repeating our errors. Use it well. Grow carefully. Remember that the greatest power is not in taking, but in knowing when to let go. We will sleep for another age, but we will dream of you. And when we wake again, in the far future when the universe itself grows old, we hope to find that you have become something wonderful. Prove us right. Prove that our sacrifice was not in vain." The message ended. The data continued flowing for another hour, then stopped. The structures fell silent once more, but this time there was a sense of peace to it. They weren't gone. They were just sleeping again. Daniel stood in the command center, watching as scientists around the world began analyzing the gifts they had been given. He felt tears in his eyes and didn't bother to hide them. The Elder Keeper stood beside him. "They honored your species. That is rare. In all our years, we have never seen the Ancient Ones show such favor to any race. What do we do now?" Daniel asked. "You grow," the Elder Keeper said simply. "You learn. You become worthy of their faith in you." In the weeks that followed, humanity began to change. The data from the structures contained advances in energy production, medicine, and space travel. Nothing revolutionary, nothing that would let humans skip steps in their development, but enough to help them move forward more quickly and more safely. The warnings in the ancient way station took on new meaning. They were not warnings about monsters or threats. They were warnings about disturbing a people who had sacrificed everything. The extinct civilizations that left those messages had understood. Some things were too sacred to disturb. Lisa recovered fully and wrote a book about the experience. It became required reading in schools across human space. Children learned about the Ancient Ones who slept beneath their feet. They learned about sacrifice and wisdom and the responsibility that came with power. Daniel returned to exploration, but he approached his work differently now. Every planet he visited, every ruin he explored, he did so with respect and caution. He had learned that the galaxy was full of mysteries, and some mysteries demanded humility. Jake continued flying, but he volunteered for education missions, teaching young pilots about what they had discovered. He wanted everyone to know that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that they carried a responsibility to learn from those who came before. Claire left military service and became an advocate for careful exploration. She worked with the colonial administration to establish protocols for encountering ancient technology. Her motto was simple: look, learn, but touch carefully. Peter spent his remaining years studying the structures from a distance, content to observe rather than disturb. He published hundreds of papers about the network, each one filled with respect and wonder for the civilization that had built it. Earth became known across the galaxy. The Viridians shared the story with other races. Word spread of the world where an ancient civilization chose sleep over dominance, sacrifice over survival. Other species came to visit, always carefully, always respectfully. Humanity built a memorial at the research platform in the Mariana Trench. It was a simple structure made of stone from Earth itself. The inscription read, "Here sleep the Ancient Ones who gave themselves so that we might live. May we prove worthy of their gift." Daniel stood at that memorial 50 years later, an old man now but still curious, still exploring. He thought about the voices Lisa had channeled, about the vast intelligence that had judged humanity and found them worthy. "We're trying," he said to the sleeping giants below. "We make mistakes. We stumble, but we're trying to be better, to grow wiser, to reach for the stars with open hands instead of clenched fists." The ocean was calm that day. The structures beneath sent no response. But Daniel felt somehow that they heard him, that they were content. And in the darkness beneath the world, in networks of metal and consciousness that spanned the entire planet, the Ancient Ones dreamed. They dreamed of Earth green and alive. They dreamed of humanity spreading through the cosmos, carrying forward the best of what intelligent life could be. They dreamed of a future where their sacrifice would be remembered not as a tragedy, but as a gift, where young species would look at what they had done and understand that true power lay not in dominance but in restraint, not in taking everything but in knowing when to step aside for those who would come after. And they slept on, content to wait another age, another million years, until the time came to wake again. But when they did wake, they would wake to a galaxy made better by their choice, a galaxy where humanity had learned the lessons they had tried so hard to teach. The ancient warnings were still there, carved into waystations across dead space. But now new messages appeared beside them, left by humans and Viridians and others who had learned the truth. These messages told a different story. They spoke not of danger but of hope, not of monsters to fear but of teachers to honor, and they all said the same thing. Remember Earth, remember what they gave, remember and be worthy. Deep beneath the ocean, beneath miles of rock and water, the structures pulsed once, so faintly that no instrument detected it. A final acknowledgement, a blessing for the species that had proven themselves worthy of trust. Then silence returned and would remain for ages yet to come. The Ancient Ones slept, and humanity stood watch over their rest, guardians now of those who had once guarded them. It was a circle completed, a promise kept, a future earned through respect and understanding. And in the darkness, in the deep places of the world, the Ancient Ones smiled in their endless dreams.